Well, that's a game that should have been won. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Phillies set for the cash recap on last night's game between the Phillies and the New York Mets as the Phillies lose 3-2 to the Mets as they drop the third game of this three-game set, but they still win the series but fail to sweep. Now, guys, if we're getting into this, subscribe if you have not yet. Please hit the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and let's get into this. I mean, I'm not overly upset about this loss, but I mean, you gotta sweep the series, right? I mean, this is a winnable game last night at Citi Field. I mean, you had to win that game. I mean, you had to win that game. Unfortunately, the Braves win, so the Phillies lose ground in the NL East standings. So that's kind of frustrating, right? We had an opportunity to stay right where we were, but it is what it is, right? You're not going to win every game, but this was a winnable game. It wasn't like we lost 5-0, and it wasn't much open. We had a 2-0 lead in this one. I mean, this is a game that should have been won, and the offense should have done more than it did, right? And yes, we got a little unlucky with Bryce Harper, and he's stopping his hit streak. I mean, I tell you what, there's two balls that he hit, man, and Sacrifice finding the ball later in the ball game, time of the ninth inning, man. I mean, those balls were just absolutely crushed, and it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. So as we pick up the scoring summary here in the top of the first inning, JT Realmuto doubles on a sharp line drive to center field, his 24th double of the season. As Bryce Harper comes around to scores, the Phillies now lead it 1-0. So JT Realmuto with a clutch hit right there, man. I mean, Bryce Harper running through the stop sign from Dusty Wathan, and he thought he can get to home plate, and he did, right? I mean, he was really rumped up when he got there, and doing the fist bump and things like that. He was really excited. Of course, I mean, why would he not be? What a nice clutch hit right there from JT, who does not usually play too well at Citi Field. We pick it up top of the fifth inning. Bryce Harper hits a sacrifice fly to center field, a deep fly ball out there to center field. Freddie Galvis comes around to score from third, as the Phillies now lead it 2-0. So Bryce Harper doing his job out there. Some fundamental baseball. We all know that Galvis has a decent amount of speed, but honestly, you could have David Ortiz at third base who would have scored on that, man. I mean, that ball was absolutely square up off of Bryce Harper's bat. So it's just unfortunate. 2-0 Philadelphia. Then we pick it up bottom of the fifth inning. Dominic Smith. Here we go. Batting with second and third. Nobody out. And he gets the job done, ladies and gentlemen. He doubles on a line drive to right field down the line. We all knew it was trouble right off the bat. Jeff McNeil and Tomas Nido come around to score as the Mets now tied at 2. So that's Smith's 18th double of the season. And he was pretty fired up at second base. Of course he is, right? I mean, it's Sunday Night Baseball, ESPN, all the lights are on him, right? It's New York. They're trying to avoid a sweep. I mean, they're still kind of in that mix, right? I don't think they're going to be seeing October baseball. I don't think we are either, objectively. So he's pretty excited there. So I don't really blame him for that. It was off of Kyle Gibson, who needed more run support last night. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can't really fault Kyle Gibson too much about this. I mean, he needs run support, man. I mean, you can't expect this guy to go out there and, pitch a complete game every single, you know what I'm saying? Like, anybody on the staff has to have run support. We do not hit, especially at Citi Field. I talked about that on Saturday night. We just don't really hit too well there at that ballpark. I don't know why. For whatever reason, we just don't do it. And we pick it up bottom of the seventh inning. Jeff McNeil homers on a fly ball to right center field, his 7th of the season, as the Mets now take the lead. Now a 3-2 ball game. So Jeff McNeil, a guy who's not really well known for hitting home runs, hits one out right there off of Kyle Gibson. And I'm going to go back to it again. I just said it, 30 seconds ago? More run support from Kyle Gibson. We just, I don't know why. Where was the run support last night? So the Phillies, I mean, I'm not going to call this an embarrassment, but they sure definitely could have played better. There's no question about that. That is your final 3-2 New York. As they avoid the sweep, but the Phillies still manage to win the series as Freddie Galvis gets to start at a leadoff spot and collects 2 hits, also scoring one of the Phillies running to Bryce Harper's sacrifice fly. And here's the thing, when we got 8 hits as a team, I say that's not absolutely terrible. But the problem is we just continue to just strand runners in scoring position. We have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. We just strand runners on base, let alone. I mean, we stand at 15 last night. So, I mean, you got to do a better job of getting these guys in. I mean, this is what loses you ball games, when you don't support your pitcher. That's going to lose you ball games. So Freddie Galvis, he looked good out of the leadoff spot. I do like him in the leadoff spot occasionally. I think that's pretty cool. Gene Segura continues to put the ball in play a lot, collecting 2 hits last night. And Bryce Harper, unlucky. I'm not mad at him at all. I mean, any Phillies fan that can be mad at Bryce Harper right now, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, he still had a pretty good series. Unfortunately, yes, his hit streak was snapped, but I tell you what, I mean, he struck out and he was battling against Woodchill, right? I mean, the hanging breaking ball, he just happened to stare. He thought that was a ball. It was not a ball, it was a strike. I don't know where he thought that pitch was, but I'm not getting mad at him about that. That sacrifice fly hit the center, and then there's that pat in the top of the ninth, man. That ball was hit hard too. Mixing in 2 walks. That's the thing with Harv. When he goes hitless, he always tends to mix in a walk or 2 in there. So I'm not mad at him at all. I mean, despite a really, really good effort last night, the Phillies did come up short. He also scored one of the Phillies 2 runs as well. JT Realmuto, only 1 hit was a big one to get the Phillies on the board. The line drive double to center field. It was nice to see it to JT, as we talked about before. He's not known for being a clutch hitter. It was nice to see him come up clutch right there for the Phillies. And Andrew McCutchen continues to just be so inconsistent. His bat has just not been there, right? Ever since he came off that IL around that time, for whatever reason, he's just not really been hitting too well. I believe that was actually the first week in August, to be exact, right around that Red Series at Citizens Bank Park. I mean, I just, it's a shame because he's shown somewhat, sometimes this year he looks red hot, and then he looks absolutely terrible. I just think he might be playing hurt, but and also Matt Veering, a guy who I thought was really, really cooling off. He collects 2 hits last night. He continues to just be a very solid option for the Phils, and I'm talking about this all the time. I'm talking about this in previous videos. Some young guys coming up and doing well, right? I mean, Nick Maton there for a little while. You go take a look at Luke Williams. He had a lot of flair when he first came up. That walk-off homer against the Rays. Matt Veerling, now another example of that. That's one positive you could take out of this year is that some younger guys coming up for the Phils, they're having good seasons when they first come up, right? And yes, I believe some of them have fallen off, of course. I mean, Nick Maton really cooled off. I mean, Luke Williams really cooled off. And Matt Veerling looked like he was cooling off there for a little while, but now he's starting to heat up again. So you could take this as a really, really big positive. Go take a look at the Phillies' performances. It was ranked like 26th, 27th in baseball. This is great to see, though. I mean, these young guys coming up big. Not that they're, like highly talented prospects or anything, but I'm still not really too sold on our farm system. But that's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. Ronald Torres, we haven't seen much of him. He gets to start at third last night and collects 1 hit. It was nice to see him back. But Andrew Knapp, right? I mean, a guy who just like, boy, oh boy. I mean, we saw, JT Muto eventually started the game at first base. He goes back behind the plate later in the ballgame because Andrew Knapp is just so terrible. All he does is strike out. I just don't really have any words for him anymore. I didn't really come up with this discussion, but I was talking to some Phillies fan. He told me about this. He's not really happy with JT Muto. I thought this is a really, really interesting thing. So just think about this, right? All these blown saves, all these cookies that we just seem to throw with 2 strike counts. I mean, a lot of times, JT Muto is our starting catcher, right? Of course, he's our starting catcher. The catcher calls behind the plate, right? I mean, he sets a sign down, and they both agree on it, right? I mean, JT Muto is part to blame. I didn't even think about this as part to blame for this. Not that we, blew a lead late in the ballgame last night. Of course, I mean, it had nothing to do with that. I'm just using this as an example. It just goes to show you that JT Muto may be part of the blame for, the Phillies' win saves this year. I had no idea about that, and that's why Andrew Knapp does get some playing time. A lot of people do believe that Andrew Knapp does call a better game back behind the plate. I mean, which is very, very strange. As strange as that sounds, apparently that's true. He does call a better game back there. Because JT Muto, think about it, it makes sense. The catcher sets down the signs, right? I mean, of course, they have to both agree, the pitcher and the catcher, but the catcher sets down the signs and where they want to locate it. So that makes a lot of sense if you really think about it. So I didn't even think of that. So I just thought that was interesting to bring out. I love JT Muto. He's my second favorite Philly. I don't really blame him for the blown losses this year and all that. But yes, he's technically part to blame. If you really think about it, he is. But I don't blame him, wholly for that. I really, really blame, our bullpen, our just lack of talent in the bullpen. I mean, it's just like, it's not even that good of a bullpen. There's not even good names in that bullpen. And it's Kyle Gibson. Go take a look at him. 6 2/3, 7 hits, 3 runs, all 3 are earned, 1 walk and 9 strikeouts. He pitched enough. He pitched well enough to get the win. It's a shame he didn't get the win. I mean, 9 strikeouts in this 6 2/3. Here we go again. I mean, here's another start from Kyle Gibson where he ranked up the strikeouts. I don't understand this. I mean, this is just weird, right? A guy who does not usually rank out the strikeouts. This is not a strikeout pitcher, and he struck out 9, just 6 2/3 innings of work. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. 7 hits, right? You expect that of a guy who apparently wasn't supposed to be a strikeout guy, which is kind of weird, right? Like I said before, he struck out 9. He's going to allow a decent amount of contact. But I'm not really too mad at him, right? Made that one mistake to Jeff McNeil, who's not really, known for being a power hitter. Dominic Smith, coming up clutch right there. Of course, it's against the Phils because he always seems to up his game when he plays the Phils. So Gibson's stuff looked pretty good last night. I'm going to say it again. Let me repeat. He pitched well enough to get the win. What's going on with these, our starters not going more than 7 innings? That's another thing. We're not really going more than 7 innings. It's just weird. I mean, you see this. I mean, we're at the later part of the season. Partly I understand it. But it's quite strange if you ask me. And Cambro DeSign came in and he did his job despite walking those 2. A nice solid inning in the third. But it wasn't enough, right? As the Phillies dropped the final game of this 3-game set in New York, and they still managed to win the series, though. But the Mets do salvage that final game. I would have loved to see a sweep on Sunday Night Baseball. That way we wouldn't have lost ground in the standings, but we failed to do that. So the Braves, as they did before, did unfortunately win yesterday. So we got to take a look at the standings right now. The Phillies find themselves 2 games back from the first base spot in the NL East. And go take a look at the wild card. St. Louis Cardinals still have a pretty comfortable lead over the Cincinnati Reds with a 3-game lead. And hard to believe it. I mean, the Phillies and Padres have the same exact record. I mean, how weird is this? The Phillies and Padres well, at the same exact record. I mean, just like the Padres, a team that is loaded with way more talent than the Phils, they find themselves with a 76-73 record. So isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? The Padres, a team that at the All-Star break, they had that wild card. I mean, that was set, and they find themselves now trailing the wild card by 3.5 games. So you're going to take a look at the Mets doing 7 games back with the second wild card spot. Like I said before, they're not going to be seeing postseason baseball this year. The Phils have a much, much better chance than the Mets, but I still don't think the Phils are going to make. I think it's 50-50. The Braves, they go over to Arizona from San Fran. That Arizona Diamondbacks team is bad. I mean, a team that's not even collected their 50th win this year, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bad Arizona Diamondbacks team, and now we got a bad Baltimore Orioles team coming into Philadelphia as we open up the 3-game series tonight at 7:05. And John Means on the mound for Baltimore, a guy that has thrown a no-hitter this year. He just missed a perfect game. He is 5-7 with a 3.41 ERA. Don't let that record fool you. I don't even pay attention to a record for a pitcher anymore, especially when they're on a bad team like the Baltimore Orioles. Ranger Suarez going for the Phils, 6-4. They won 5-0 ERA. We all know how great he has been. I just want to see him go 7. I want to see him go 7. I mean, Joe Girardi, I mean, come on, man. You got to let Ranger Suarez go 7. And tomorrow night, 7-5, the first pitch, to be determined for the Phils. You all know what that means, right? The opener, oh boy. And it'll be to be determined for the Orioles as well. And then we got Zach Wheeler on the mound for the series finale on Wednesday. Also, that's a 7-5. I'll be there for that. We were 14-9 with a 2.83 ERA. Toby could dominate against the Orioles. Right? I mean, come on. Yeah, there's no excuse here. I mean, you got to sweep this series. This is the worst team in baseball with a 47-102 record. This team is just absolutely terrible. Then you got the Pittsburgh Pirates coming to town for a 4-game set, and you got to win at least 3 out of 4 of that. You got to win at least 3 out of 4. So I'd love to see us get 7 in a row right here. I mean, this is doable. You definitely could win all 7 games of this homestand. Do I think they're going to do it? Probably not. I just don't really get that vibe. Now, do I think that they're going to win, 6 out of 7? I think 6 out of 7 is more likely than 7 out of 7. That's just my opinion. I think we will sweep out the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, that's not even hard. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles are just terrible. We all know the Phillies struggled to beat the bad teams. I mean, think of this, the Baltimore Orioles, a team that swept out the Phillies last year. Let's not forget that. In August of 2020, the Phillies were swept out by the Baltimore Orioles. I think that's significant. I mean, that's barely over a year ago. It's like 13 months ago. I mean, that wasn't even really that long ago. So I think that's an important thing to bring up. The Orioles swept us out last year. I mean, at Citizens Bank Park in a 3-game series. And boy, their bats were just raking, right? I understand our pitching staff is slightly better than last year, but still not a whole lot better. Now, of course, if you listen to Phillies front office, you might think different, but I do think it's slightly better than last year. But still, I mean, this is still pretty much the same team as last year, so you have to keep that in mind as well. So, sweep the Orioles, at least win 3 out of 4 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's what you have to do. That is what you have to do. So, go take a look at some of the moves. Kind of bragged. I forgot to talk about this. This is like last week's news. I think I completely forgot to talk about it. Placed on a 10-day injury list with a right groin strain, likely out for the season. And J.D. Hammer option to AAA Lehigh Valley, right? I think that's a good move to make. I mean, this is a guy that this was really struggling. So J.D. Hammer sent down to the minor league affiliate AAA Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, and the Phillies recalled left-handed pitcher Damon Jones. So he will take his spot. So guys, to watch this video. Please subscribe if you have not yet. Please hit the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Take out social media, link in the description section at Phillies Hats. So Instagram, take note Instagram. Call or text 267-225-3292. Email it, phillieshatsef@gmail.com. So, 7-5 the first pitch tonight. John Means 5-7, the 3.41 ERA going against Ranger Suarez 6-4. They won 5-0 ERA. So I got to watch it. I'm looking out. Talk to you later. Let's go, Phil. Sweep this series. I'll see you guys.